Hey everyone, thanks so much for checking out Season 2 of the BATTASS podcast. Just wanted to give you guys all a heads up. July is going to be a very busy month for us here because we've got Curse of the White Knight, which is Volume 2 of Sean's Batman book, is going to be debuting, as well as a Kickstarter for a book I'm going to be doing called Bloody Hell. And as that gets closer to coming out, you'll get more information. So thanks so much and enjoy the show. Hey everyone, welcome again to the BATTASS podcast, the Batman, the Animated Series Show podcast. My name is Clay McCormick, and with me is...
Sean Murphy.
And
Here we are.
We are back again to talk about Season 2 of Batman, well, the DVD division of Season 2. Not the other. This is, I guess, it's episode 29 and 30, if you're going by the actual thing. But this is Season 2. Hopefully it's not... 2021 right now, and we actually got these out in a fairly...
We're going to release these serial like once a week or once every few weeks. We're not going to dump them like last time.
If you're listening to it, it means it's out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's logic that works.
Just be thankful.
Yeah.
What are we going to try to do better this season?
More hentai? I got a lot of good response about the hentai discussion.
I need another rant of some kind. I'm
sure we'll get there. Anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed Mask of the Phantasm. We had a good time doing that one, and now we are on to Season 2.
Yeah,
and we're going to be covering the episodes Eternal Youth and Perchance to Dream. In Eternal Youth, which was written by Beth Borstein and directed by Kevin Altieri, several rich industrialists are invited to the Eternal Youth Health Spa, and that's where they are last seen before disappearing. The only connection, they had something to do with the death of plants. Thank you, Wikipedia. Bruce Wayne also receives an invitation, although it was one of his greedy directors who nearly made the deal to destroy... Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
Although it was one of his greedy directors who nearly made the deal to destroy a rainforest before Bruce forced him to shut the operation down. But Alfred... That was all in a parentheses.
That was one sentence.
Yeah. No, it's in another sentence.
Okay.
But Alfred and his lady friend, Maggie, go in his place. When they do not return, Batman is forced to investigate, discovering that the spa is run by Poison Ivy, and that she has been using a formula to turn the industrialists into humanoid trees, including Alfred and Maggie, and this concludes my third grade book report.
Let's just review the Wikipedia entry. How about that?
Yeah, that was... could have used a second pass on that one.
Yeah, I think it's good that you don't practice and rehearse that. It's kind of good you go in cold and you can kind of show people like, this is what...
Yeah, no, it's always fun. I mean, they're usually pretty tight, but that one, not so much.
Yeah. There must be people who fight over these entries. Like, guy in Minnesota, damn it, he rewrote Eternal Youth. Like, I had it worded perfectly. Fuck him.
But then he looks at it and he's like, no, he made some good changes. I see where he was going
There
with
is a Coen Brothers movie there.
Yeah.
I think that would be... like people who they get home from work early, they sign in at lunch, they check Wikipedia, they're like, that fucking asshole, he changed my Batman animated series, episode 2901.
It's all the cut scenes from Barton Fink. So this is our first Poison Ivy episode since I think she's only done maybe one or maybe I can never remember these, but she hasn't had too many.
Yeah. I think she had around 5 altogether.
Yeah. So this is one of the first few, and unless I'm missing one, which I probably am because I can't remember what happened yesterday, let alone what we did last time.
Yeah.
They did her origin story, and we thought that one was was all right. What I'm getting at is the first season was we kind of felt was really hampered by the necessity of doing all these villain origin stories. Mm-hmm. And now that they got those out of the way, they kind of just are able to tell stories. And I thought, for a Poison Ivy story, I thought this was pretty good.
Yeah, there's a lot I loved about it. Even as a kid, turning people into trees seems really scary.
That she really upped her game.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even remember what she did last time, but that shit was... Even now, that was scary.
The sound, too. Hearing their bones turn into bark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that they make sure to mention that it's only an exoskeleton thing.
Yeah.
So you're not a kid there going like, even as a kid going, there's no coming back from that. And when your eyeballs turn into tree bark, you're done.
As a kid, I didn't register that they were still alive inside. It just felt like if you broke a branch off, you basically broke off their finger or thumb.
Yeah.
Or if you took a chainsaw to it, blood would shoot out from the middle of the tree or whatever.
And that would be a better episode.
Yeah. It's funny. They could have had a scene where they're going to cut one down, it almost just to give you the tension and then pull back a bit, you know?
Hey, Chris, are these trees supposed to scream when you cut them?
What? I'm trying to fix Joker.
Yeah.
Just do whatever, man.
Yeah, but I thought this one was pretty good. It reminded me, actually, there's a...
Wait, who's Chris?
That was just a fictional... Okay. He's the fictional...
or it's like Kevin Altieri. You could have just said, hey, Kevin.
I could, but this was a fictional tree cutter in this scenario.
Sorry to interrupt.
It's funny. She has really... Poison Ivy has really upped her game. I mean, what I liked about it is... Now that they've established these characters, they can remain consistent with them, and I felt like she was very consistent to what they had set up previously.
Right. So I noticed that they were going out of their way to hide her face. They had her in shadow for a while, and then they only saw her from behind.
Yep.
And the big reveal of, oh my God, it's Poison Ivy. I did not think that worked at all.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously Poison Ivy.
Right.
And you see her as the doctor, dressed up in a lab coat with glasses, and that is obviously Poison Ivy as well. So I don't feel like they got themselves any bonus points by hiding her identity for so long.
Do you think that's more effective, though, if it's a kid watching it? Because, I mean, I don't know. Is there this weird disconnect where, like, as a kid, even if you figure it out, you have that maybe like that feeling of, oh, wait, I know who this is. This is Poison Ivy.
Yeah.
And then they tell you, go, oh, I was right.
Right.
Or is it just not? Does it just not work?
So, on that, to up that, to let me pose a question back to you.
Yeah.
Do you review something based on the first time viewing, or do you review something on how rewatchable it is?
For this specifically, or just in general?
It's just in general.
I guess it depends what it is. I would say if I try not to put too many caveats on it if I can, unless it's explicitly not like if it's explicitly made for kids, I'm gonna do it on a curve.
Right.
But even there, if you've got third act problems, I'm gonna let you know about it.
Well, so the next episode we talk about, I feel like it's a great episode the first time you see it.
Yeah.
When you watch it again and you know the secret, there's not much else worth watching, honestly.
Right.
But that doesn't have to be the case, because I think The Sixth Sense is amazing the first time, and it's still good the second time, third time. You know, knowing the secret that he's spoilers that he's dead it just changes. Whereas sometimes if you know that secret going in, it just doesn't hold up as much. Yeah,
there are definitely some things that don't work as well on rewatch.
So in this case, like if I'm reviewing it on like how does the episode hold up, there's no reason that they had to hide her for so long. Whatever benefit they get from that isn't really worth much, I don't think.
Yeah, that's fair. I would assume that even if you are a younger person watching this, as soon as there is a leaf-based crime, you have a pretty good idea of who's behind it.
Yeah. Yeah, anytime a doctor with red hair walks by, it's like, Poison Ivy, there she is, Poison Ivy, she's going to be the bad guy.
Yeah, a doctor with red hair who seems like oddly standoffish about plants.
They're so breathy, yeah.
Very. It's funny, they've really jacked up her rhetoric in this, where she is very much, I mean, she's always a pro-plant, anti-human, but she's pretty intense in this. It actually reminded me there is a wrestler right now. His name's Daniel Bryan, who is the WWE champion, and in real life he is a vegan and he's a environmental activist and all this kind of stuff.
Oh, cool!
And now that is his character, but he's a bad guy. So all he's doing, it's amazing. All he's doing is saying stuff he actually believes. Like, he believes it.
Right.
Where he's yelling at the fans, calling them fickle consumers who just create trash. And this is what he actually believes.
It's not an act.
No, but it works because he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
And that was what I was thinking of. It's like even though these characters are right, you can still feel comfortable booing them because of the attitude they put behind it.
I wonder if you could do that in comics. Be like a well-known creator, but just play the part of the heel, and you can unload on whoever you want at any time.
It's my
and
dream.
People will just applaud you, like, yeah.
My dream is to turn heel in the comic book world. Yeah.
I'm not sure that would land on Twitter that well.
There would have to be an end game in place for it. That's my exit. It's
called suicide.
Yeah.
Or faking your death, at least.
I don't want to give away my plan too much.
Yeah.
It's I thought she was good. I thought she was consistent. They've got her character in a place where they've got a few things that she does. She's still got henchmen.
Yep.
Which is whatever. She has
that stupid bow and arrow wristband.
Yeah. She somehow managed to get the funds to start this really exclusive health spa.
Yeah.
Which was very impressive.
Yeah. It's like a Greek spa in the woods.
That only 3 people work at.
Yeah. Who are two horrible Oh, the way that the commercial that she sends to Bruce on the VHS tape.
Mm-hmm.
I love the actresses, or they're bad on purpose, and then when you meet them, it's like, oh, we finish each other's sentences, like those kind of girls.
My favorite part of the episode actually is after is when Batman gets called in to investigate the
Your dog.
My dog Pliskin has lots of thoughts on this episode. Apparently,
quit nudging my elbow. I can't pet you the whole time.
My favorite part of the episode is when Gordon brings in Batman to investigate the disappearance of the woman from the beginning.
Yeah.
And he's like, Batman's like, I'm going to go check out her apartment. And Gordon's like, we've been all over it. We've fine-tooth comb over that whole place. We have found nothing. And Batman walks in and just picks up the VHS tape that's right on the friggin' table in front of the TV. It's
practically slid halfway inside, yeah.
And he looks at it and he plays it and he goes, she's probably here.
Yeah. And another question I had related is, why wouldn't Ivy just turn Alfred into a tree the first time he was there? She's got chemicals that instantly turn you into a tree.
Yeah, I wasn't sure why he had to go back.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I like that he went back and he was acting weird and putting plants and flowers in the Batcave.
I like this.
I like that he and Bruce had more FaceTime and Bruce could tell he was getting woozy or whatever. But I didn't understand why that had to happen. I feel like Ivy could have gassed him or turned him into a branch. Bruce could be looking for him, figure it out without that. They added like another act, basically.
Yeah, I think overall what's missing from this story is, as consistent as Ivy's character is, it is also fairly one note.
Yeah.
And I think having more of a explanation as to why she's doing this, instead of just getting revenge for trees, might have been a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think really it's a coin flip there, right? Because you only have so much time to do this. So you either have the scene where Alfred goes back and does the fun Batcave stuff, or you really get into the plot.
Right.
And, that's just what they decided.
You're right. Now that you mention it, Poison Ivy is not that deep in this series. She doesn't have the depth that Clayface or Mr. Freeze or Ra's al Ghul has. You're right. She's just a villain who's got a pretty corny golden age, motivation, basically.
Very hand-wringing villain.
It's pretty dumb, honestly. And there's a lot of you need to just kind of go with it. Like the idea of turning someone into making a humanoid out of a plant, and this thing is stronger than Batman. It's like, I mean, if you had grounded it with some logic or some emotion, they come close in, I think it's the next episode with her where she has a family and she's pretending to be reformed, and her kids and her husband aren't actually who they say they are. They're just plants acting like a family. And in the end, Batman says, I don't think Ivy was doing this as a scam. I think she actually felt like she had a family in a weird way.
That's kind of cool.
That adds to her, absolutely. But
we
have to get to the third episode with her before we get any kind of meat.
Yeah.
But her teaming up with Harley actually does inject her with some more substance.
Right, yeah. Definitely, yeah. It'll be fun to talk about that when they start. Do they do that much in the show? They do it a couple times, right?
Yeah, they team up at least twice.
Yeah. Yeah, that stuff will be fun to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm actually really looking forward to getting to the last season where they change everything, because I have the Blu-ray set, and so I was jumping around a little bit just watching some of those episodes.
Yeah.
I don't like them as much. I like the designs, but I don't think the writing and stuff is there. But
yeah, when that first came out, I loved it.
Yeah.
Like you say, I like the Batman costume the best. Mm-hmm. They do a good red sky.
Yep.
Gotham City's always red at night. Like, they made some pretty bold decisions. But as an adult, going back to seasons 1 through 3, like, I actually prefer these better for some reason. I think the writing on the last season was so tight that it felt cold.
Yeah.
Whereas it just didn't have like the same heart and emotive aspects that these first 3 seasons have.
Yeah, and also they kill Bruce Wayne's character, because in the old, not to go too much on a tangent.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, the Bruce Wayne in these episodes, the older episodes, there is a difference between him and Batman.
Yeah, goofy Bruce. Remember this? Yeah.
But even more so than that, like I love the scene in this one where he's on the phone with the guy who made the Amazon deal, and he talks in that higher register. He talks in that Bruce Wayne register. Yeah. And then as soon as he hangs up, he turns into the Batman voice. Yeah. Yeah. And it's that I love that because it's a great example of showing how Bruce Wayne is the mask, because when he's not on the phone, he turns into Batman, right? Instead of Bruce Wayne turning into Batman, or you know what I mean. And in the later season, Kevin Conroy just plays him Batman, mask or not. It's very much the same character.
Yeah, it's Batman in a power suit, basically.
Essentially,
yeah. That's when for my Batman, that's sort of what I went for, was Bruce's no-nonsense, cutthroat, just as direct and, short-fused as he is as Batman. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, we can talk about this more when we get to that in 5 years. But yeah, I liked the Bruce Wayne stuff. What I actually loved is at the end, the giant tree that comes busting up. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, great set pieces.
Yeah, except the one shot where they do the long shot of the tree coming up, and it just looks like a giant piece of broccoli that someone's like sliding a cutout of.
Right.
But the animation inside of everything coming up out of the ground and the tree growing, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. Man, who would want to imagine if you're an animation team and they stick you with, hey, why don't you animate some branches and trees and we'll draw poison ivy? It's like, oh man, these guys suck.
Yep. They could commiserate with the hentai guy.
I gotta add more to that rant. I'm sure there's more material there worth going back to. First, I had to do some research. What did you think about Alfred's relationship with the neighbor, or whoever that was?
I thought it was fine. I mean, I assume she never really comes back, right? I don't remember her coming back.
No.
It was what it was. I think it's nice. It's nice to have Alfred have his own life.
Definitely.
But at the same time, I also like how they use that as a foil for him to be like, well, I don't want my own life, because she's all into him and everything, and he's like, well, I mean, Master Bruce has, I gotta, clean his suits or something.
I thought it was just he didn't like her.
That's possible.
She was annoying.
Yeah.
I thought that she was just grating on him.
Yeah.
I would imagine. I mean, I think it's interesting that they give him something to do other than to dote on Bruce the whole time. Yeah. And having him be like, oh, gross. So even when he's at the spa and he's like, oh, it's so beautiful everywhere you look. And then he looks at her in a mud bath and he's like, never mind.
I enjoyed that they got, between these 2 episodes, they got a lot of good use of that animation of the car driving up to the front of Wayne Manor. Yeah. Because they use it like 3 times.
Her car, the Roadster.
Yep.
And I noticed her steering wheel is on the right side of the car, too.
Yeah, she has an English car.
Proper British,
However, what I thought was funny is if you look at that scene when the car drives up, right? If you look at actually the car compared to the size of Wayne Manor and the gates, Wayne Manor's on that giant cliff. Yeah. And if you follow how that gate would open, there's about 3/4 length of a car between that gate and the cliff.
Oh, I see.
So there's no way she would have been able to drive through that.
Don't ruin it for me, man.
Yeah. Magic xylophone.
Yeah, I said I love this set. Love the giant tree ending. The very last line is when Maggie is recovering with Alfred, and Bruce decides to bring them a plant as a gift. And they're like, Bruce, please, the plant, get it out of here. He's like, oh, sorry, goofy Bruce. Yeah. And the line is like, oh, Bruce, he's a nice guy, but he's not too bright. And that's when you go, he's just kidding because he's really Batman. He saved your asses.
Yeah, he's just being a dick.
Yeah. I like how Bruce has a giant flat screen TV, black and white.
Yep. Yep. No color.
Yep.
It has to be black and white.
I love it. Yeah. And he's always in the gym doing bench press while news is coming and going. And yeah.
There's these two episodes both have a lot of empty space in Wayne Manor, where it's like this giant room that just has a single chair in it.
Right.
And in the next episode, there's a room that just has a TV in it. Like there's nothing. It's like a chair and a TV, and that's it.
A room with a painting of his parents.
Exactly. Yeah. There's no couches. It's just an empty hall.
Yeah.
With the painting they need for that part of the scene, and that's it.
Yeah. How do you like your Wayne Manor? So big Gothic. Do you like it brick? Do you like it in the city? Do you like it in the woods? Do you like it on an island? Do you like it on a cliff?
I generally like removed from the city, more kind of classic mansion. Basic, the more classic idea.
Right.
Because I've always thought that if the Batcave is underneath it, it needs to be somewhere where people can't see it. Or at least on its own fairly exclusive piece of land.
Right.
Whether that's on a cliff or not doesn't really matter. But
in the movies, when they show the Batmobile racing up to the entrance, in Nolan, it has to jump through a waterfall, which hides it. In Burton, it's like a dead end road, and then suddenly the rock lifts up and you're inside. So people who wander down that road and it's just a dead end, like they just never bother to wonder why. Like I do have questions about. I know no one wants to think about those things, but I think
the road in the Burton Batman to the Batcave is strangely paved.
Yes,
because it is a paved road,
newly paved
road that leads to just a wall.
Yeah,
that would probably bring some questions up.
Right.
Not as many questions as I can't believe. So I enjoy Batman Returns. The one thing, even as a kid, I knew was ridiculous was when they shine the fucking bat signal, and then at Wayne Manor, these gigantic bat signals turn on and shine them into the house, so you can get that cool shot of him standing with the bat signal. It looks awesome.
Yeah,
but it makes no sense.
Yeah, but during the mansion tour, when people are like, and this is the dining room, this is the pool. Hey, what are those giant strobe lights doing next to
and also,
Victoria?
What activates those?
Yeah,
how do they know to what's the mechanism that sees the bat signal and then turns on?
Right. It should just be an alarm or a buzzer in his pocket.
This show's stupid. Batman's dumb. This is going to be the last episode because I have just grown up.
Oh man.
Well, I think we touched most of the bases in this one. Do you have a portion of this that you'd like to draw or tackle in some fashion?
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Do you have one? Do you have an answer ready?
I do. The tree people. Yeah, that's
pretty good.
Even now, that stuff it's pretty creepy.
Yeah,
like that when they reveal that menagerie of tree people, that's some scary shit. I think that would be a cool. Yeah. You could do a little bit of horror stuff.
Yeah,
that'd be a lot of fun.
You could really go Topi on it.
Oh
too.
Yeah.
So we have this book, Sergio Topi. It's right next to us, and it's this great artist from Italy, and very gnarly and a lot of crazy line work, and perfect for tree people.
Yeah,
that would be cool. Yeah, I'd also like to draw Alfred and that woman in the car, like driving away together, and he's like rolling his eyes, and she's just annoying.
You want that Alfred and Maggie scene that gets censored by DC?
Yeah. It's funny. I'm doing. I just laid out the pages in Volume 2 for an Alfred flashback scene where he does. The scene where he and spoilers. Leslie go on a.
I would keep it to your chest. I don't know when this is going to come out.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
I always wondered, like, how would Alfred? What does he do outside of the mansion? How far would he go to protect Bruce? How does he carry himself? You know, and just little things like that. Like, what kind of car does he drive? What does he wear when he's not wearing butler clothes? You know.
Yeah.
I gave him a sword because it seemed like an appropriate Alfred weapon. I figured he probably taught Bruce how to fence in the first place, you know, that kind of thing.
Right.
But it's fun thinking about Alfred, and I was thinking a lot about how I think you could do a really cool Alfred Year One story. I don't think anyone's really gone there story-wise.
Yeah, they always just kind of hint at his backstory.
Yeah, I mean, you think of him as like, okay, he's bald, so he's not necessarily heroic, but neither was Picard.
True.
Picture Butler version Picard, ex-military, you know, trying. I mean, there's something there.
He's not as badass. Winery.
He's not as badass as Bruce, but yeah, I think that would be cool. Yeah. I don't know what they're doing in that Gotham show. For all I know, they might have been.
I haven't watched it, but I think it's something similar to they did to a book called Batman Earth 1 that came out a couple of years ago, where they basically...
Grant Morrison book?
Might have been.
Okay.
I can't remember. I think Gary Frank drew it.
Okay.
He's awesome. He's a great artist.
Yeah.
But it's... Alfred is like a former SAS guy.
Yeah.
And I know in Gotham that he basically is the one who trains Bruce.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do in that show.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's lots of different ways you can go with it.
Right.
I've always been interested to see an Alfred who doesn't particularly want to be there.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few different ways you can go with Alfred.
Yeah.
There's ex-military, like almost like he's driving Bruce to become Batman.
Yeah.
Then there's, hey, Bruce needs to do this, and I'm going to support him, Alfred. And then there's Alfred who like taught Bruce how to fence and a few other things. But generally, Bruce had to learn a lot of it on his own. You know? And then there's a version of Alfred that hates this and doesn't want him to do it anymore. You know?
I've always been interested by, I mean, it's just a trapping of the genre and the comics in general. But I've always been interested as to why Alfred is just like all in from the get-go. Like even in the Nolan movies where Alfred is like...
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Yeah, Alfred's got a pretty good head on his shoulder there.
Yeah.
And then when Bruce comes back from his jaunt in Batman Begins, Alfred's just like, yeah, what are we doing?
Let's do it.
Batman?
I'm ready.
Sure,
let's do it.
Yeah.
Come on, let's build some shit.
Yeah.
Let's make some weapons.
Yeah,
let's go splunking.
Yeah. So it's always been kind of interesting to me as to like why does he want to do it? Does he have to want to do it? Would it be interesting if maybe he didn't want to?
Right.
Or, something like that. I think there's some stuff you could play with.
Ooh,
there.
I just thought of a good short story, and you should write this. This has got your writing all over it. It's one shot. It's in Elseworlds. Bruce finds some stuff from Alfred. Maybe Alfred's past in this version, right? And he goes through his things, and he finds out...
He was born 500 years ago in the Highlands of Scotland.
Alfred, in the military, his code name was the Bat. His friends in the squad he was in had like a souped up, like they had a lot of Batman type stuff all over the place. Like Alfred's history reads like preliminary for Bruce, and Bruce starts to feel like, oh my God, Alfred did this to me.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Like Alfred planted the seeds and turned me into a perfect single vision of what he and his squad did in World War II.
What if
Yeah.
Alfred killed the Waynes?
That's, ooh. Man, they would never let you do that.
No.
Not even
that's why we talk about it here, because we'll never get to do it in real life.
Man. Yeah, they didn't like when I made Batman a bad guy. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't want Alfred to be a murderer.
Yeah. But I mean, that's kind of the natural progression of that story, right? If he's pushing Bruce to become this character, it's like, well,
go all the way.
There's got to be a catalyst for it. Right?
Maybe he meant for Bruce to get killed too, and Bruce escaped, and then Alfred decided, I don't know, that he felt bad.
Yeah. So I'll just break him mentally instead, and commit him to a life of misery and pain.
Well, what else are you supposed to do?
Yeah. Then it turns out that Alfred's really the Joker.
Oh, that had to have been.
No,
done.
I'm just saying that's where these things end up going. Where it's like, no, but he's the Riddler.
Yeah.
In this world, no.
Right.
Anyway, that's the fun of Elseworlds, I guess.
Yeah.
So do you have any idea? Drawing, tackling?
Oh, same answer as you. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Or the Roadster.
Yeah. What would you rate this 1 to 5?
I'm gonna go 3 out of 5. I thought the animation was really good.
Yep.
And I like the some of the concepts. I think you could iron the plot out a little bit more. And there was a lot of wasted time sending Alfred back home, and when you could have even gone into some more stuff about Ivy, which I think she needs.
Yeah, and the stuff when you send Alfred home, it's like, it's fun, but I don't know if it's... They could have leaned into it even more.
Yeah.
Which would have been nice. But, again, they only got a half an hour, 20 minutes, so...
And he has a he gets dizzy after he's home for a bit, and Bruce like finds out that he's having withdrawal or something.
Yeah.
But he's eating the cookies that have the chemical in them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't understand the logic of like, what is it? What chemicals need to happen in his body to make Poison Ivy's thing work?
So I thought it had something to do with the fact that he was in the cave instead of out in the sun.
Oh,
Because it's a plant-based chloroform photosynthesis thing.
That would make sense.
Because when he wakes up, he gets out and he stretches and he, in front of the sun and he feels great and everything.
Yeah.
And then later when he's in the cave, that maybe not. I don't know. I could just be reaching.
Should be. That's how. Yeah. Man, you're good at this. You should be a writer.
Well,
How about you? What would you give it?
I would give it a 3. Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was solid. Good non-origin villain episode where she's pretty consistent, if not one note. So
Why do you think people like Ivy? Because there's on Twitter I get followed by the Ivy League of whatever, and they're super nice, but they're always like, put more Ivy in, put more. It's like one note, and God bless their hearts.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, like, what is it that you like about her? Is
Right.
it like this sometimes lesbian relationship with Harley?
Mm-hmm.
Is it just she's kind of hot, and is it her powers are cool? I have no idea what really.
Yeah, I haven't read enough Ivy stories. I'm sure they're out there, but I haven't read any to really get that across. And like the thing that I was interested by was there was a series that started, I think, a couple years ago, where she was a bad guy, which she is,
Right.
and those Ivy fans were pissed. Like it was this character for them had gone from a villain to kind of an anti-hero to more of like sort of just a general hero. Mm-hmm. And I guess taking it back to a villain was what they found didn't like, because they were very pissed off by that.
Yeah.
And I kind of understand, but at the same time, it's like, well, I mean, she's a villain, first and foremost. Also, it's just a new story. Mm-hmm. Maybe see where it goes first.
Yeah. Well, don't. Yeah,
you can't do that anymore.
There.
But,
yeah.
but so it's like I find it interesting how kind of Harley's the same way, because I don't totally get the Harley love after a certain point, because Harley's a villain. Yeah. I mean, I know she's obviously she's kind of a special circumstance because she was messed up by the Joker and whatnot.
Right.
But there is a certain element to her character, which is where her character comes from, which is what's the word I'm looking for? Abusive relationship, which has turned her into a villain. So I guess I should say with Harley, it's less that I mind less that people like her for her more heroic things. It's more when it's the Joker Harley stuff weirds me out. Like when people aspire to be those characters.
Oh, that kind of thing. Yeah.
That's what gets me. It's like I understand what you're doing, kinda.
Right.
But these characters they should not be together.
Right.
Like if you really loved Harley, you would not want her anywhere near the Joker.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. That's sort of so Harley's generally like a Deadpool, Lady Deadpool at this point in mainstream in the main line of DC. So when I made her, I sort of reminded people like, hey, she's a doctor.
Right.
She's super smart. I mean, she must know that she's handicapped by this. So have her admit it and have her grow past it. Like, to me, it's pretty obvious what people want. I think the best villains have that. They're bad except for this.
Yeah.
Ooh, I kind of like that a little bit.
Right.
Like, you need to root for the villain a little bit.
Yeah.
And if there's nothing redeemable at all about them, well, that's a different kind of villain.
Right.
But we want to love these characters. It's okay that they're bad, but they have to have something good about them at least. And they took away Harley's thing, which was her intelligence. And so for Volume 2, I have, Bruce reminds Harley, like, her superpower isn't her fighting ability or her, like her superpower really is that she dated and fell in love with the worst person in the planet.
Right.
And it did not break her. Like, she came out stronger. Like, she, in a way, is like got the strongest heart of anybody Bruce has ever met. Like, her superpower is her heart, basically.
Right.
I have it worded much more poetically than that. But yeah, I feel like when I remember the Harley Ivy, people were mad that Ivy was backtracked to being a villain. They were finally getting like the good Ivy that they always wanted, and then for some new writer to come in and back and destroy it, like a lot of people were really upset because that was a character that they wanted to see redeemed, you know. And honestly, like making a evil villain, having them win in the end and having them turn into a good guy or good girl is great because it clears the board for a new villain to come step in. Like, why not graduate them into happiness? You know,
I also think there's a little bit of hesitancy to really admit that you love a character who does terrible things.
Right.
So if you can take that character that you love for aesthetic or whatever, you know, reasons or character reasons, and then they turn good, then it's okay. You feel a little bit more okay about loving them. Instead of being like, I love the character of the Joker, which apparently people say anyway, even though they forget all the shit that he's done.
I know. They want to love him, but they can't.
But you know, that's that. I think there's a little bit of that in there. So it's like, you know, you want this horrible person. You love the character. You want to feel okay about saying that. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a natural thing to feel.
That's why in name dropping again, in my book, I tried to make it okay to have a crush on the Joker. Because if you thought that maybe there was another version inside of him that was a good guy, it made those feelings of loving the Joker acceptable. He's not totally, you know, you don't have to disregard him completely. I was going to say before, like, some of these heroes are made for you to want them to redeem themselves. Like Clayface, I want him to end up happy. I want him to fix his thing because I just, for some reason, the way he's written, I want him to you know, make a turnaround. Sorry, losing my train of thought. Harley, I want her to be okay. Ivy, like, but when I come to like the Scarecrow or to the Riddler, I don't want them to find peace.
No, they're just assholes.
Yeah, exactly. So what is it about? Like, how do you design a villain that makes fans want to see that villain okay? You know,
I think there needs to be a tragic element to the character, right? Because I mean, Clayface, at least if we're going by the show, was taken down by his own pride, but he's not necessarily a bad person, right?
It's not his fault. He's a victim of this,
He's a victim, but he's not completely innocent either. But he wasn't asking to turn into Clayface, you know? And it ended up driving him nuts. So there's an element of pathos there where you want to, you don't want him to be completely destroyed. But there's an episode of Batman Beyond with Clayface, which is, I thought, even as a kid, I thought was like heartbreaking. Because I forget how they end up finding him, but he's like under the city and has grown into the walls of like the sewers. And he's just this husk of a person who's just like alive, but dead, basically. And you go that you think like, well, Clayface isn't that bad of a dude. You don't want him to be condemned to living death for you know. Whereas the Riddler is just kind of a prick. Like there's not really much redeeming about the Riddler or the Scarecrow.
Where do you land on Hatter?
I don't know him well enough, but I don't care.
For me, he's not my favorite villain, but I did discover while writing him that I do like him. He's tragic, but it's sort of his fault because he let himself fall in love and he got really weird and he's goofy. I mean, you almost feel bad for. He's like pathetic. You know, he's like the nerd that can't get his shit together, basically. Like I think that you can handle Hatter in a way that makes you root for him to want to, you know, get the girl or whatever's driving him, you know, in some way.
I guess that's the trick with him, though, is figuring out what that thing is. Because that's what we've talked many times about. All of the best characters have that thing that you can define them by. And what is it with Hatter? Maybe we can talk about that in the next episode.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and do the Perchance to Dream. All right, we're back, and we're going to be talking about Perchance to Dream, which is story by Lauren Bright and Michael Reeves, teleplay by Joe R. Lansdale, who is he's a novelist, I believe. And I believe he wrote, now I got to click on it so I don't sound like an asshole and get this wrong. Yeah, he's a novelist. He actually wrote Bubba Hotep. I don't know if you remember that movie. with Bruce Campbell, where he plays Elvis, and he's in a nursing home.
I've never seen that.
No, you haven't? Oh, it's great. Great movie.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah, it's interesting that he did this. It's a very odd name to see. Directed by Boyd Kirkland, and in it, Bruce Wayne wakes up one morning to find that his life is completely upside down. His parents are alive, the Batcave does not exist, Alfred does not remember Robin, and he is engaged to Selina Kyle. However, it doesn't mean that Batman isn't still around. And Bruce starts to wonder what has happened, especially after seeing the characteristics of a dream, such as books and newspaper prints not making sense inside this new life. That one was much better than the last one.
Huh. So when I remember seeing this as a kid,
the
point where Batman says, "You can't read in your dreams," I thought that was true. So I remember going to karate lessons that night, and this guy who was like way older, he's in his 30s, he had seen that episode too, and we were starting to talk, and he thought that was true as well. And I honestly carried this with me for years. And I've actually had dreams where I've caught myself in a dream, like, oh wait, I'm dreaming. And I've actually grabbed a book and read, because I'm like, I got to see if that thing is true.
Yeah.
Whatever it is about this one part of this episode, it stuck with me for a long time. And I have absolutely read things in my dreams.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
Even when I watched it now, my first thought was, "Oh yeah, he's right." And then I was like, wait, I don't know that.
It sounds plausible.
Yeah.
And like Batman's logic of reading is done with the left side of the brain. And
sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
Okay.
It makes as much sense as anything in Star Trek.
It sounded great though.
I loved this episode as a kid. This is like right in the ballpark for the kind of weird television episode that I like. I love, like, when it comes to Star Trek or anything like that, I love alternate reality stuff. I love dream episodes generally, when they're done interestingly,
right.
So I always like this episode. And it's because, I've even as a kid, I always just loved the hook ending, the surprise ending.
Right.
I was always into Are You Afraid of the Dark and Twilight Zone. So to have an episode of Batman where you've got this nice twist ending to it. Always liked it. I love the way it breaks down, where he starts going crazy. All of it. I think it's great.
I had some tweaks I would make to this. I think that would improve it a lot.
I don't think it's perfect, but I do very much enjoy it.
So you're probably maybe you're thinking the same thing I am, but let me jump into how I would fix this. The opening as it is a car chase with two villains that have nothing to do with the rest of the plot.
Yeah.
Bruce wakes up in a dream. Scrap that. I would make him fighting the Hatter. Yep. And then halfway through the fight, he gets mind controlled, and then he wakes up the next morning. So
doesn't that give it away, though?
Well, that would explain why in his dreams he pulls off Batman's cowl and he sees Hatter. Like, maybe he's convinced, because there's no reason for him to just imagine why demasking Batman would give you Hatter.
Yeah, I think that gives the game away too easily, though. Because the Mad Hatter, his entire thing is mind control.
Right.
So if he's there from the beginning, I feel like that's kind of just really tipping your hand as to what's happening.
Right.
Because especially if... Yeah, I think that would be too much of a hand tip.
Well, I mean, to carry it through. So I hear your point. So that happens. He wakes up... So this whole flashback is happening in a split second.
Yeah.
So Hatter has put this thing on Bruce, and he thinks it's gonna.
My favorite part of the episode is when he looks up and that thing comes down and he just goes, "What the?" Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, didn't see that. As it stands, the ending is Batman hooked up to a thing with his cowl, and Hatter's there messing with his mind. Why wouldn't he take his mask off at that point? I felt like if you had this idea of Bruce halfway through a battle gets mind controlled, and all this takes place in half a second. So he's literally throwing a punch, and he gets mind controlled. And by the time the punch connects, he wakes up again. So Hatter never would have had the chance to do that. Hatter's idea of handicapping Batman by putting this on his head didn't work because Batman broke through it. Even though in his imagination it took place over a few days, it only took place in a few seconds in real life.
Right.
And then at the end, like, he gets Hatter. And then you could have the dialogue between Bruce and Hatter at the end of this episode, where Hatter's like, "Why didn't it work? I gave you everything you wanted. Like, you should have. I gave you happiness, like, just so you would go away."
Yep.
You keep all that stuff because I love that dialogue, but I would have it happen in real life. So yeah, I think it would tip the hat. That's obviously Hatter, but I don't think that I think it's just a different kind of episode if you go that way.
Yeah, I think you're taking it down a bit of a different. Yeah, it doesn't. You kind of lose your. Because in that case, it changes the point, right? Because if you tip the hat, so to speak,
right,
it kind of turns your episode into why is this happening instead of what is happening, right? Because if you know it's Mad Hatter doing it,
right,
you kind of are probably going to figure out very quickly that Mad Hatter's done something. Mm-hmm. So then you're trying to figure out why is this happening,
right,
instead of what. And is that kind of where you're going, where you would prefer that be the angle, so that stuff at the end has a little bit more beef to it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because Bruce also says he blames Batman at the end of this. Like,
right.
And I don't know why he would blame Batman.
That stuff is a little murky.
Yeah. I mean, I get why he would track down Batman. I get why he would want to take his mask off. Like, hey, if I'm not Batman, who is Batman?
Right.
And if he sees Batman and he yells at him, Hatter, I'm ready for you. Like, he knows that it's got to be Hatter. Like, I know it changes the nature of the episode, but it explains away a lot of the plot holes, I think.
Yeah, the thing that I really liked watching this was after Bruce sees the words that he can't read, he goes crazy. He kind of loses it.
Yeah.
And as he was losing it in such a way where I was thinking, oh, this is nice. He hasn't figured it out. At least, well, eventually you find out he has. But at that point, I'm thinking, he hasn't figured out what's happening. Mm-hmm. He's going crazy as Bruce Wayne would go crazy in this new reality, not as I've just figured out it's all a dream. I'm really Batman, right? Mm-hmm. But then they get to the end, and they kind of have him spout off being like, I knew it was a dream because you can't read in a dream, and it's, that stuff. So that's where I feel like there is the murkiness kind of comes in, and the disconnect is weird there.
Yeah.
Because why would he assume, like you're saying, why would he assume that Batman is behind this?
Mm-hmm. Even says, I don't have any reason to, I just know.
Yeah.
That's weak.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I think it's ultimately saved by the hook at the end. Mm-hmm. That it's, I think the hook is strong enough, and especially, the best part of this episode is after he wakes up, when Batman gets into Mad Hatter's face, and he just, why would you do this to me? Like, it's because he just, Mad Hatter gave him the perfect life, which is fucking torture, because he gave his parents back, and he gets up, and Kevin Conroy just nails it. Like, you feel every ounce of bile in his voice when he says that.
Right.
And even the response from Mad Hatter I liked, where he's like, you ruined my life.
Right.
I was going to give you the perfect life just to get you the fuck away from me.
Love it.
I thought that stuff was great, too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see there being it gets a little weird in the wrap up there. Yeah.
Yeah. I noticed that Bruce's life is very patronizing in his dream. He's basically a millennial living with his parents.
Yes.
He's got a hot
he has tickets. He has tickets to the Fire Festival. Honestly, he might be running the Fire Festival.
In the way that, like, the way that Alfred talks to him, like, Lucius Fox runs it for you, but not that you're capable of, like, Bruce's life is just very nerfy, very cushy, and it's just, in a way, like, I can see why Bruce would not want that, but I thought one way you could really turn up the drama is the very last scene, as it stands. Gordon's like, cool little gadget. We'll have to have the lab boys check it out or whatever. What is it? And Bruce walks away slowly, Batman, walks away slowly and says, the stuff that dreams are made of. If he just walked away from a fantasy where his parents are alive, I think you should end the whole episode with him in his parents' grave.
Yeah.
He chose to let them die in a way just for reality. Like, I'd rather live in a reality where I'm sad and my parents are dead than live in a happy life where I've got no substance, basically.
Yeah.
And the finale in the dream actually took place in a cemetery. So I feel like there's got to be a way for Bruce, the gravestone, to be right there. I don't know, something.
Yeah. Well, it would have been nice if it wouldn't have made a ton of sense, I guess. But I guess it depends on how much time was between him getting knocked out and turning, because you could have it be like the Mad Hatter's machine was inside the tower.
Yeah.
Or some shit like that. So he wakes up and he's in that tower in the cemetery, something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
That might be, it's no more hard to connect those dots than anything else they do in this episode.
And for Bruce to say, so you know who I am, and Hatter goes, I do, but I'm just part of your dream.
Yeah, they really go out of their way to explain why his secret identity is still intact.
I know.
And, I kind of understand what you're saying, where it's like, you don't know how long this has taken. Why didn't he take his mask off?
Yeah.
Unless it's like an Inception thing where he's only been out for a couple seconds.
That's I was trying to think of where I got that idea from.
Yeah.
It's totally an Inception idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I do really like this episode, and I think there are pieces of it that would really that hint to a stronger story if they had more time. This is kind of it's very Total Recall-y, right?
Yeah.
Where Bruce Wayne is more or less Douglas Quaid saying like, I need to get to Mars, and they're like, honey, Mars doesn't exist, flat Earth.
Right.
I would have liked it if they had an hour to do this story, and you got some stuff of Bruce pushing back in different ways, and the world pushing back on him. So, the idea with this world is that it's there to keep him sedated and content, right? So if you have Bruce pushing against that a little bit more, then you have the forces of the dream world, so to speak, coming back on him and trying to course correct him back into the, no, you're just Bruce Wayne. Your life is great. You're just coasting. There's no need to, buy a grappling hook and throw it 200 feet in the air somehow, which, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, kind of the way the cops were. The cops at the end, I thought they were going to play a little bit more dreamy with the cops, where they were just going to keep showing up to try and knock him back into line, like they were just all of a sudden going to be in there with him.
What movie is that where you can't deviate because something happens? You always end up doing what history meant for you to do.
Oh, I'm sure there's a few of them.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean, though? Like, to have him push against the forces of the world a little bit more.
Yeah.
Kind of like Truman Show, kind of. Where...
Yes.
Yeah. Where
maybe that was it.
That might be it, yeah. Where he's kind of got an inkling that something might be wrong, but anytime he tries to push against it, there's something knocking him back into place.
Right.
I think that would have been cool.
Yeah.
But again, you only get so much time.
Yeah, you could use this to do a real deep dive.
Yeah.
And Bruce gets everything he wants.
Yeah.
And he's appalled by it.
Yeah.
So then I think it begs the question to Bruce once he gets back into the real world is, what do you want then? Like, what are you doing? I know you didn't want that because you knew it was fake. I get that. But like, that gave you 90% of everything you've ever asked for.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough for you, which makes me think that you're always going to find a reason to be Batman.
Right.
You don't actually want to be happy. You don't want to be complete. You don't want your problems fixed.
Yeah.
You need drama, basically.
Well, it's the kind of thing, I think there's... I was going to say an episode of Black Mirror, but there's probably like 12 episodes of Black Mirror that do this.
Yeah.
Where it kind of gets you into the headspace of, what do you value more? The thing that you want or what reality is? Like, if you're given everything you want, if you know that it's not real, can you live with that?
Right.
Well, it's the Matrix, right? The guy who betrays them in the Matrix, who's like, I'm sick of this gruel. I just want to eat a steak.
I don't care. This goop.
Yeah. Like, what is the value number there as far as your own identity and reality is?
Yeah.
There's a great episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer where she starts waking up in a mental institute in a straitjacket, and the hook of the episode is everything that we know that has happened up to this point is part of her psychosis, and this real world is her in an insane asylum as a crazy person.
Yeah.
And her parents come in, we know them as divorced, but they show up and they're together and they're really worried about her. And, you see all these little bits that you go, oh, well, that's where that came from. That character is named Angel, so that's where she got that idea from. So that kind of thing. And the genius of the episode is they never tell you if it's fake. She makes the choice to go back into the Buffy the Vampire Slayer world.
I can see why you would love that ending.
They never come out and say that what she was seeing was not real.
Right.
But so the fact that she actually makes the choice to choose the vampire world is so good. It's such a good ending.
It's almost like the end of Inception when you're looking at the top
spin,
and it's just as it starts to bend a little bit, cut to credits.
Yeah. Yeah, because in that point, Leonardo DiCaprio's character has reached a point where he doesn't care anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's real or if it's not.
It's very Philip K. Dick.
Yeah. And I mean, that stuff might be too heady for a kid's cartoon. But I think those I enjoy those stories. I think they take what you know about these characters and say like, well, maybe they're kind of nuts.
How do you write a cartoon like this where it has to work on two levels? It has to work for 12-year-olds, and it has to work for parents of 12-year-olds. How do you make it fast food enough for the kids, and then still add like the vegetables? The adults will be like, oh, I see the other level of this. Like, it's such an interesting question.
I think they did a pretty good job, honestly, for as much as it kind of maybe be shaky towards the end. I mean, the fact that we just had that conversation.
It's true,
about the essence of reality.
The fact that 12-year-old Sean thought that you could not actually read in a dream until he was in his 20s.
And what does that mean as far as understanding where you are and all that kind of stuff?
You're right. I mean, when you can think of it as a kids show and how far they got with this idea, it's pretty amazing. It is quite a home run. A few niggles aside, it really is a nice home run. Yeah.
From a technical standpoint, I as I said before, I have the Blu-rays, and the thing that's amazing about the Blu-ray set is, especially with the first seasons, less so in the last season because it all kind of changes the computer.
Yeah.
But you see every paint stroke, every hand animation that they did, which is awesome. But in some episodes where it's real, they had a lot of complicated stuff going on, and maybe it wasn't as tight. The Blu-ray really makes that stuff pop.
Yeah.
And this episode in particular, there were some things that stood out. Like I noticed there was some transparency issues on some of the animations where you could see through stuff for a couple frames. And obviously, who gives a shit? But I found it interesting. And the biggest one was at the end when they're in the tower, all the rain stuff that was going on outside the tower.
Yeah.
You can really see how it's pasted on or whatever the process is to do that animation on top of the other animation.
I think they actually film rain.
Really?
It looks like it's filmed, and then they make a negative out of it somehow and turn up the contrast, and then they make an overlay because it's too good to be hand done. Yeah. You've seen hand done animation in Batman. It's like droplet by droplet. It looks like a cartoon. That looks like it's a trick that they've done for a while.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it in old Disney movies too.
Yep.
Like in Robin Hood, this 70s cartoon. I remember the rain was like, wow, it looks so real.
The best Robin Hood.
Yeah. It's funny. I last week, no non sequitur here. I went on a deep dive, what's the best Robin Hood, movie? Because I think you and I were talking about Costner and, and there hasn't been the definitive. Even the top three are still Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think about the one from the 70s still being my favorite, honestly.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think if you wanted to pick a definitive one, it would probably be Errol Flynn.
Yep.
Just because it set the bar, and the imagery and everything.
Yeah.
But, man, I love the cartoon one.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That was done. The review on that.
And I'm going to say this because I know that everybody else as a kid had a crush on a fictional cartoon animal female character. Maid Marian in that movie was pretty hot.
Oh my God, yeah. You know who else I had a crush on was Gadget from Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
This is me. I'm imagining myself as a furry right now, I guess. Who else? Hot animals cartoons.
Hot animals. Do you remember in The Sword and the Stone where he turns into a squirrel?
Yeah.
And starts running with the female squirrel.
That nasty, dirty lady squirrel.
She was pretty cute.
I remember her.
Yeah.
Oh, the feather duster from Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
The way her voice, it got kind of rapey at the very end of that movie.
They
pulling her feathers out.
They specifically made her like a French maid. So,
Yeah. So what?
I
want to hear you get in trouble. Yeah.
All right. No one's listening. Either that or lots more people are listening now because this is going in a very interesting new direction.
Yeah, man. I don't know if I mentioned this. My brother-in-law is a furry, and it's an interesting story watching him go into that culture. And it's the overlap between furries and I think I might have mentioned this before, D&D gamers and cosplayers and comics people, like video game types. Like, we're really not that different from each other,
Yeah.
Just lonely, antisocial, and looking for a little bit of love.
Anywhere you can find it, even in a dream.
Anywhere you find it, that's the way.
The furries aside,
That's a sequel.
Yeah. The strangest thing I found about this episode is the fact that they have Batman working during the day.
Yeah.
And just sort of hanging around. Like, it's almost like they didn't know how to program Batman in this dream world. Yeah. So he's just showing up during the day, and then he's just, like, hanging out on the street for a while, and everyone's like, hey, it's Batman.
And he climbs the rope, like, just Adam West style, like, see you later, kids. Yeah.
Yeah, if one of Batman's villains was programming that, he did not get punched enough by Batman.
Yeah, you've not been paying attention.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what else there is to say, but the other thing I did really like, that was just a tiny thing, is when Alfred picks out Bruce's clothes, and he says, I've got just the thing for your business meeting. He just gets the same brown suit that he wears in every episode.
I like to think that that's Alfred's sense of humor.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah. Well, drawing a bath, yeah, it is very, very Alfred thing to do.
Yeah. It's funny, I didn't realize how much Alfred really was the comic relief.
Oh, he's such a dick.
In a lot of versions.
Yeah, but I think, do you have a section of this that you'd want to draw or tackle in a different way?
Batman in the rain in a bell tower is pretty iconic.
Yeah.
You can sell those pages pretty easily.
Yeah.
How about you?
I don't know. This is a tough one. I think this is probably more of a larger concept, or maybe not, but I think it would be fun to really try and amp up the paranoia that Bruce feels once he starts losing it.
Yeah.
I think that might be kind of hard to get across in a comic. But I think that would be fun to play with.
This reminds me, I did want to mention something before. I feel like they should have gone further into the paranoia.
Yeah, me too.
Because I remember after he goes crazy, some of his lines are really over the top and kind of lame. However, if you really had him going off the deep end, don't have him calmly walk into a store and buy a grappling hook.
Yeah.
And then calmly get his wallet out for the police. Have him kick the door down and knock the guy over, grab his shit, shove the really go for it. He doesn't plan on existing in this world for much longer anyway, so he's just gonna do it.
Yeah. Also, speaking of that, of not existing in the world much longer, I am shocked that they let them have Bruce Wayne jump out of a bell tower. Where even though it's a dream,
it's suicide. Yeah,
yeah. The fact that they let him just be like, "Well, fuck you guys, I'll see you in hell." And
so in the
good line though,
the book. So they almost cut that out. That line.
Oh, really?
So in the book of the animated series, the big fancy one from 15 years ago, has the gray ghost looking one. Okay, it talks about censorship and what's it called? Customs and
standards and
standards. Thank you. Yeah. And in giant letters on a half page, they say, the studio has a problem with the line, I guess I'll see you in hell. Exclamation point, underline with a red marker. And I don't know how it got in, but if you think about it, that really is kind of a dark thing to say in a kid's show.
He doesn't say hell. He says, I'll see you in your nightmares.
Maybe they changed it then. Yeah. I'll see you in hell.
Yeah. Bruce Wayne says, I'll see you in hell, and then leaps to his death out of a bell tower. Yeah.
4:30 on a Sunday afternoon for kids.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wondering if the writers purposefully wrote PG-13 stuff in there just to give the editor something to do.
It's possible.
They're not going to let this happen, but whatever. Let's try it.
Yeah, that's the trick for a lot of R-rated movies where they purposely make it more R-rated, and so then they pull it back to what they want it to be, and they're like, good.
Right. How did Bruce know that suicide would wake him up?
Just like he knew you can't read in a dream. Everybody knows you can't die in a dream, I guess.
Just invented it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie was a big influence on Christopher Nolan, I think, this episode.
Yeah.
Die in a dream wakes you up. Although I guess they probably could read in Inception. Although I don't know. But,
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's about it. Do you ever want to rate this one?
Yeah, I guess I'll go 4 out of 5.
Yeah. Yeah, same for me. I think it's
barely in the 4 zone.
Yeah, this is in my memory, it's a favorite of mine.
Yeah,
and I think it still holds up. But it's you probably could punch it up a bit. It's very good though.
Yeah, just tighten up the last 5 minutes. Really.
Yeah.
Make the logic add up. Yeah. Oh, one more thing. The policeman who was chasing after Bruce, whoever that voice actor is, I feel like he's done a lot of classic, very over the top, Mr. Wayne, your parents are waiting for you at home. Like, just very like his voice just doesn't match the world at all.
Yeah,
it's like they hired a guy who like, oh, I used to do animated cartoons all the time in the 80s. Hire me. Okay, great. We'll give you the cop. Okay, great. And he does his lines, and they're like, this isn't Adam West Batman. This is different.
Yeah,
but nobody told him that.
Yeah.
So every time that cop, talks to Bruce, it's just this like what. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Small thing.
Well, did you want to talk more about Mad Hatter at all?
Oh yeah. So we touched on this last episode.
Yeah. You asked me how I felt about Mad Hatter.
Yeah.
I don't. He's another one where I haven't read too many stories where he's the main focus.
Yeah.
I don't think it's tough for me to find him super redeeming because if the thing he's at, I mean, like, what is the thing he's after? Is it just this fictional girl, or is that just the jumping off point for his psychosis? And if it's the girl,
right,
that's kind of creepy.
It's very Lewis Carroll.
Yeah. Well, that's not necessarily great, but
no, but the idea of Lewis Carroll wrote Alice about a 15-year-old girl that he knew.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not cool now.
Yeah.
Back when he wrote it, I don't know if there was statutory laws, if they looked at it quite the same. I don't know. The kids got married at 13 back then, I think.
Right.
So, but I felt that it was interesting how they reflected a lot of real-life Lewis Carroll stuff into this character and made him just... I'm not sure if that's how he's designed in the comic. I know that Hatter is one of the oldest Batman villains.
Yes, yeah, he definitely is.
I even remember looking up, like, legally how they were able to use him, if he was a Disney character or if he was owned by Alice in Wonderland people.
Yeah, it might. I don't know when Alice in Wonderland was written, but it might have been in public domain by that point.
Yeah, but they also call him the Hatter, not Mad Hatter.
Yes,
and they have him referencing Alice, which you can do, but like legally, I'm not sure where the line is.
Right.
But like you said, it might not matter because it might just be PD at this point.
He's one of those characters that I feel like there's a big breadth that you can cover with him, because I know that some people have played him a lot more sympathetic, but there have been others who are like, well, let's really lean into the stuff that he can do, and make him like dangerous, which I think you can go either way with him. But I think the problem there though is I think that while that's fun, it does kind of belie a lack of focus, right? Because if you can do that with Mr. Freeze, but Mr. Freeze, no matter whether he's the softest character or the hardest character, generally has that underlying thing where you know what he's about and what his drive is.
Right.
I don't really know what that is with Mad Hatter, and I don't know if that's just because I haven't experienced the character enough to be familiar, but he just seems kind of nebulous.
Yeah, I mean, his powers could be the most he could be the most powerful villain in Gotham.
Yeah.
If you use it right.
Right.
He's a great character to use if you need a Batman dream sequence, if you want to, look at fear. A lot of the same ways that Scarecrow is usable. Hatter's less threatening because he's such a goofy little leprechaun. And childlike in a way that it sort of makes me root for the character in a way. But if you went the version of like Mad Hatter as the Scarecrow, basically, that's a totally different type of villain, which also was awesome. But yeah, I guess it just depends on how you want to go with it.
Yeah, I think in the Arkham games, he's pretty dark.
Yeah.
I think everybody's pretty dark. But I think there's like if I remember, I think in Arkham City there's a sequence, a Mad Hatter sub-story where he's like got this table full of people he's murdered who are all dressed like Alice in Wonderland. Like, it gets pretty messed up.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a character where I think doesn't totally have as strong of a not backstory, but like drive as some of the other ones do.
When I was doing, so I used him a lot in White Knight because he used the Hatter technology to control Clayface, and he was just hanging around in the plot basically, and I got to the point where Neo Joker came, planted her flag, and Hatter was just there, and I thought, well, should she put him under mind control too, or I don't know what to do with this guy.
Right.
And I tried to write him as always using Alice in Wonderland type dialogue, which was just a giant pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So I quickly had Neo go, you need to stop talking that way.
Yeah.
Because that's how I was basically like, if I'm going to write him, I'm going to get rid of that shit because I just can't do it.
Yeah.
And then I found that he was really cool to use as a father figure. Because I imagine Hatter being one of the oldest villains of Batman's mythos, he's like up there in age. It's very easy to just think of him as like so old that no one even cares about him anymore. But if he found new motivation by being a mentor to Neo, especially because she's a girl and he's sort of driven by the loss of the girl that he thought he loved.
Right.
And in a way, this is him like sort of making peace with that. Like not every woman thinks I'm repulsive. Like this, she sees value. And I liked him. You know, first of all, it's always good to give the villain a buddy to talk to, so you don't need inner monologue balloons. They can just talk to someone else about their evil plans.
Right.
Having them argue was fun because it was kind of funny because he is experienced and she kind of wanted to take shortcuts everywhere, and he was trying to tell her patience is important. And I really liked him a lot, and I always thought like if they make action figures of this book, I hope they make a set with him and Neo because I just sort of like them a lot.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah. I think he's got a few more episodes. We'll see what he gets up to.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to do it for these two. We're going to change the order just a little bit because there's a two-parter Robin episode coming up. So next time we're going to do the Cape and Cowl Conspiracy and the Laughing Fish. Thank you guys for listening. If you want to give us a rating or review on iTunes or anything like that, or hey, tell another Batman fan about this podcast. Listen to it. That'd be great.
Yep.
If you got any comments, you can find us on Twitter. BATTASS Podcast, at BATTASS Podcast. Email questions, batasspodcast@gmail.com. And that's it. Thank you, Sean.
Hey, man, thanks. It's good to do this face-to-face.
Yeah, I know. It's we talk for a lot longer when we do it face-to-face. Not that there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
But thanks, guys. We'll catch you next time.